YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys, the support and towards my channel. I really do appreciate. Today, actually, what I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew is a skirt, and I'm going to be naming this skirt a front overlap slit skirt. It's a long skirt. It's going to be having a slit on the right hand side. You could decide which part you want to actually put your slit, and the slit is going to be lapping on top of on the other side. So when we slit it open, it's going to be lapping. We're going to be cutting it open, and then it's going to be lapping on top. So that's just basically what I want to teach you today, how to cut and sew. And I still want to say our registration for our online classes are ongoing, so I'm just going to be dropping my number on the description box if you're interested. So you could just send me a WhatsApp message and I'll send you the details. So if you have not subscribed to my channel already, please subscribe and hit on the notification bell to get an update whenever I upload a new video, and then share my video if you find them helpful. So thank you guys. So let's just get started. So for this skirt, now what the amount of fabric that I actually have here is almost 2 yards of fabric. It's just like 8 inches or 7 inches and short of 2 yards. That is what I have here that I want to use to make this skirt for a hip of 40. So I divided it into two, the fabric. I have one piece for the back and then the front. The back piece is a little bit bigger than the front because of the zipper allowance. That's normal for skirts, but because of this kind of skirt, because I'm going to be cutting the front and open, I need excess of fabric. So what I have here now, the back and the front, they are the same. So that extra allowance that I added for the back part, I added to the front also, because I don't want to be short of fabric. So both of them are the same. I'm just placing them like this just to get the zipper allowance. So that is that. So now I'm just going to be imputing the basic lines for a skirt. It's really simple and easy if you have been following me, but if you are a beginner, so I'm just going to show you how to do that again. So for this skirt, the basic lines that you need is your hip line, and your hip line is usually 9 inches. Your hip line is usually 9 inches. That's from the top. But for this, I'm just going to be using this point as my start up line, because I don't want this written part of the fabric to show on my skirt. So I'm just going to be using this as my 9 inches. So I'm not using this one again. This one is cancelled. So from this point, so I'll use this part as my allowance to stitch the band. So I have my 9 inches for my hip line, and then my knee line. So your knee line, you measure from your waist to your knee. So for this, my knee line that I'm going to be using, I'm going to make use of 20 inches for my knee. So this is my knee line. And then the full length of the skirt that I'm going to be making is actually 42 inches. It's 42 inches. So I'm going to be using those 3 inches as my allowance, because I'm going to be folding it in, because this skirt is going to be a full lining skirt. So that is that. So I'm just going to impute the measurement now. I'll start with the waist measurement, and the waist measurement that I want to use for this skirt is actually 32 inches. So for beginners that don't know, when you divide 32 into 4, because you see our fabric is divided into 4, 2, 3, 4. So that is why you divide all of your measurements into 4. When you divide 32 into 4, you actually have 8 inches. So this is my 8 inches. I'm just going to place my tape here, not on the back piece, and then I'm going to measure my 8 inches. So this is like my 8 inches now, and then I'm just going to add because this front part of this skirt, because I told you, because of the lap, I'm going to be adding excess allowance. I'm going to add as much as between 4 to 5 inches, because I don't want to run short of fabric to reach. Normally I'm supposed to add like 2 inches allowance, but I'm going to be adding 5 inches because I'm going to be cutting and I'm sewing and then turning. So I don't want it to truncate. So I'm just going to use 5 inches for my allowance. But if you don't want to line it, you could go with your normal 2 inches. So the next one, I'll come to the hip line. I'm going to measure my hip measurement, which is 40, like I said initially. And then when you divide 40 into 4, you actually have 10 inches. So like I said, normally I'm supposed to add 2 inches allowance, but because I'm going to be slitting open this skirt, I'm going to be adding as much as between 4 to 5 inches allowance. So I'm just going to make a slant like this to connect to the hip point, so you could see the slant. And then I'm going to come to the hip line, sorry, the knee line. For the knee line, I'm going to be reducing and the knee measurement, I'm going to be reducing by 2 inches. So I'm going to have like 8 inches here, and then I'll add my allowance again back. So I'm just going to come like this. So guys, so you see the shape of the skirt is already out. You could see the shape of the skirt. So the next thing I'm going to do now for the down part of my skirt, because of this kind of skirt, for the down part, at the end of the day after sewing, you could actually adjust the down part of your skirt to how much you want it, how wide you want it to be. But I advise you have enough fabric after sewing and turning. When you are adjusting, you will not have any problem. So for the down part of the skirt, I'm just going to measure 10 inches. I'm going to use the same measurement with my hip for the down part. So I'm just going to add my allowance to it like this, and then I'll use my long ruler. So that is how simple this skirt really is. So I'm just going to use my long ruler like this, and then I'm going to be connecting it down. It's just like a little bit slanted. It's a little bit slanted because I really don't want it to be pencil straight. You could decide to do your pencil straight. So guys, so this is just the skirt. This is basically the skirt. It's really simple and easy to achieve. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to be adding my dart into this skirt. So the dart that I'm going to be using, I'm going to be making use of just 1 inch of dart, because it's from the dart line, that is where actually I'm going to be slashing open. So for the dart, so you could decide, I'm going to be making use of 8 inches for my dart. So when you divide 8 inches into 2, you have 4. So I'm just going to come here like this, and then I'm going to mark my 8 inches here. I'm going to mark my 8 inches because why I said you could decide to choose where you want it to be. So I'm going to be slashing it from this point. That is where I'm going to be slashing it downwards. So that is why I chose to use 8 inches. If you want it, depends on what you want, so you could do that. So I'm just going to notch on this point for my dart. When I'm sewing, I know how to actually attach it to it. So I've notched it now. So I'm just going to cut it out. So most times I really don't like cutting on my actual lines. If you are a Stylish Naija subscriber, you would know that by now. I really don't like cutting on my actual line because I really don't like a situation where you run short of fabric during the process of sewing. So I'm just going to cut it out like this. So I have everything put up. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now, like I said it's a full lining skirt. So I'm just going to cut out the lining also. So in cutting out the lining, I'm going to show you how to actually achieve it. So I'm just going to keep this on the side, and then I'll fold my lining like this. The lining has to be shorter than the skirt. So I'm going to be using this length of lining. This is 43, but I'm going to show you how to bend it from inside, and you pull it in. So it has there's a way you do it. You pull it in, you turn it, you sew it, and then you turn and pull up. So I'm just going to be showing you how to achieve that on this video today. So you pull it up because the lining is shorter than the skirt. So make sure the part that you really need to get for now is the down part. So once you get the down part, the up part, when you pull up, it fits in. So I'll cut the back piece now. So now I'm going to open up on the back and piece. I'm going to open up the back piece. So now back to the front piece. I'm going to be adding the slit to it now. So I'm going to be adding it with the lining. You have to put them together to get it accurately. So in doing that, I'm going to open it up. So now you're going to choose what part of your skirt, like I said, what part of your skirt you are going to be slitting, either the right hand side or the left hand side. So me, I'm going to be slitting the right hand side. So this is my right hand side. You have to check it properly before you start. So I'm just going to maintain the dart line. So this is the dart line for the left hand side. So this is my dart line. So that is what is only this part. Now that is where I'm going to be adding that. I'm going to be using this as my dart line. So I'm just going to make a straight line with my long ruler on this point. If you feel you want it tilting more, you could decide to come in by 1 inch more. You could decide to come in by 1 inch. So it depends on what you want. So you could decide that, and then you're just going to place your ruler properly, making sure that it is straight. You make sure that your ruler is straight. So this is coming in now, so I'm just coming in by 1 inch. So I just decided to come in more, so I'm just going to come in by 1 inch. That's from my dart line. So I'm coming in by 1 inch. So you can see how the line is. I hope it is clear enough. So I'm going to cut both the lining and the fabric together. So that is the only way you get it accurately and well. So guys, so you could see my skirt is separated now. So it is from those parts now. That is what I'm going to be doing. So you will determine. So I'm going to the sewing table now to go and start sewing. So the first thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to start sewing from the down part. So I'll stitch the down part and then pull it up. So I'm going to show you how to do that on one side. So guys, I'm just going to take it like this. So this is the wrong side, and then I'm taking the lining. This is the back piece. So I'm just going to show you how to do this. So you could see the length that the line is shorter than the actual fabric by 2 inch. So I'm just going to take it like this. So this is the down part, and then I'm going to be running a stitch here on this line. Then I'll pull it onto my 43 inches of my skirt. That's the skirt length that I want, is 43. So I'm just going to run it on this point like this. I'll show you how to do that. So now the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to pull it from this point, because this is where the length of my skirt is. So you can see the line that I made. So I'm just going to hold it like this on the line of my skirt line, and then I'm going to pull it up like this. So you could decide to put notches. You could decide to put notches. So I'm just going to pull it up, and then I'll sew on the two sides. So I'm just going to do that to all of the fabric, on both the back and the front, and then we'll go back to the ironing table. I'll show you how to couple the other parts. So that's just basically that. Okay guys, so welcome back. So this is the front panel of the skirt, and then this is the back panel. So I finished coupling the lining with it together. So this was what I was telling you now. So as like I showed you, after pulling it in, so this extra will now serve as the allowance to pull it in. So now I have my 43 inches of my skirt. So this is the back piece. I'm just going to put them together like this. So I'm going to join it on the zipper allowance and side. So this is the zipper allowance line. So I'm just going to make a straight line on it like this. And then I'm joining. And when joining a skirt like this, you make sure that it is equal. Just make sure it's equal from the down part. So that is what you use as reference. So I'm just going to join it like this. So this is for the back, nothing much. So the actual business is with the front lap. So I'm just going to show you how to achieve it now. So in achieving the front lap, the lapping and the overlap on the front, So this you will determine what you want. So the slit is already on the right hand side. You determine, do you want this the smaller part to be on top, to lap like this, if you want it to lap like this, or do you want this to lap, you want it to lap to the left hand side. So it depends on what you want. So you could choose whatever you want. So depends on what you want. And then how much slit do you want to be in front of it. So you could actually measure that. Depends on how wide like you want it to be. So you could actually measure how long you want it to be. That's from the down part of your skirt. That's from the down. So you could determine how much you want it to be. That's from this down point, how long, how wide. The knee, you remember that from coming from the top, the knee is actually 20 inches. So if you want it to stop on the knee point, you could decide to stop here. But if you want it to go further, so you determine that. So and then another thing to consider when lapping your skirt is your hip measurement. You have to put that into consideration. So like I have excess, so I could really play with the fabric. So because what I want is 20 inches, so I have excess, so you have to put that. That was why I was adding so much allowance to it while I was making the skirt. So for this, I think I'm going to want the bigger part to be on top, or I'm just going to check it out. So I'll determine that. Okay, so I'm just going to check what I want. So I think the bigger part should be on the down. Let the short one be on top. That's the smaller one, let it be on top. So and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come to this point, and then I'm going to measure my hip. Like I said, I'll measure the hip, measurement. So I have excess with the hip, so I could still pull it as much as I want. So you could see how much fabric is inside. So this is how much overlap I have inside. So you just, when working with this, you use your hip measurement to determine how wide you want it to be. And then for the width, that's for the length that I want, making sure that they are the same from the down part. Then from the down part, I'm just going to check what I actually want. So the best way for me to do that, I'm going to start from the top point like this. So since my knee is 20 inches, I'm just going to come down to like 24 inches. So I'm just going to come to 24 inches or 25 inches. So it depends on what I want. So this is what I want. So you choose yours. So this is how much, and this is where I'm going to be stopping. So and then the next thing I'm going to be doing now, because I'm going to be doing a top stitch with a clean and matching thread on top of it. That's how I'm going to be achieving this overlap on this skirt. So we're going to be doing a top stitch for it. So what you're going to do with this, you're going to pin. That's just the only way for you to do this. You're going to pin. Make sure you pin everything in place like this. You see, I'm just going to pin it here. I already have my mark here, and then I'm going to pin it all the way up. I'm going to pin it all the way up, and then after pinning, because I'm still going to put my darts here on this side. I'm going to put my dart on this side. So I still have excess. I have the allowance to do that. So I finished pinning my skirt now together. So the next thing that you're still going to check in doing this skirt is you're going to determine, am I going to stitch on this tiny edge? Am I going to stitch it on this edge so I don't have any excess of allowance, or do I want to stitch on this part like this? Because you know, when you stitch on this part, you're going to be having this. So you have to consider, you have to just check out what do you actually want. I already have a skirt that is like this, that I actually stitch. I use about 1 inch stitch in. Guys, this is 1.5. I came in by 1 inch or 1.5 and then ran a stitch down to this point like this. I ran the stitch to this point. You will determine that, or you want to stitch with 1/2 inch. That's doing the top stitch. You're just going to do it as close as possible to the edge of your skirt. So you determine that, and then when you get to this point, you do a double stitch, and then you have your overlap. So I'm just going to take it to my machine and show you how to do that. I'm going to do the tiny one. I'm not going to do this bigger one. I'll do the tiny one. I'm going to stitch as close as possible to the edge. Okay, so I'm going to start stitching now. So I'm just going to go like this. So I'm going to be using my hand to guide it. because I want a very straight stitch. So I'm just using the slowest and speed on my machine. So I'm just going to do it like this because I want it to be straight, as in straight. So you could see what I have. So you could see on the edges of my skirt. So this is where I want to stop. So when I get to this point, you could decide to do this in two ways. You could just decide to top stitch, or you could decide to do a slant like this. I'm just going to show you how to achieve that. So I'm just going to turn my machine like this. So you see what I have now. I've turned it like this. So I'm just going to do a back stitch like this. So this point like this. So I'm going to do it again. So that's just basically how you achieve and this front overlap slit on your skirt. So and I'm going to couple my skirt, but there's something I want to tell you. In coupling the skirt, make sure that your pins, don't remove the pins, so that will help you as a guide, because when you are taking the shape of your skirt, it has to be like this. So at the end of the day, that's when you now open it up. So now I'm just going to couple my skirt and then bring it to show you the final look. Okay guys, so you could see, so I finished pinning the back and the front together. So this is the front, this is the back. So I finished shaping out the skirt. So I've shaped out the skirt. So the next thing now, I'm just going to take it to my machine and then stitch and then fix my waistband, and then we're done with the skirt, and then I'll show you the final look. So I'm just going to go and stitch it now. So like I said, make sure that everything is pinned together, so to help it. So because of the excess lap that we did here, so that is why the back piece is bigger. So it's still okay. So we've gotten all the shapes right. So that is that. Make sure you pin together to help you. Okay guys, so you could see the skirt. So we're done already. So this is the overlap. You see how lappy it is. So it's really very covered. So even because of this kind of lap, you could decide to even take it as high as this point. It will still will not open your legs when you're walking. So you could see how it is. So guys, you see the shape, and then you see the line I was talking about. You could decide to do it